Are you ready to be part of a revolution? That's right, a revolution. You might be saying to yourself, how by watching a video am I part of a revolution? But you are. But here's the thing, in order to remain part of the revolution, gotta watch this whole video so that you understand what the revolution is about completely and fully. Because if you skip, people have a tendency to watch part of a video and then leave when they hear something they don't like. And they don't watch all the way to the end so that they fully understand the context of what is being said. For this video especially, you have to watch the entire video so you can understand what this revolution is about, what this message is about, and why it is 100% in your best interest, and the interest of other people that you know, to be part of this revolution. There are several different things I'm going to be talking about in this video. One of them is going to be about the state of the video game journalism industry, and by extension, the state of journalism in the entire frickin' world, and how god-awful pathetic it's become. Second is going to be discussion about the video game genres. In particular, I'm going to zoom in on the discussions between JRPGs and WRPGs, because I think that by looking at this particular debates, this particular hot button issue that's been discussed quite a bit recently by many different video creators like X-Critics guys, Rue from 16-Bit Gems, myself of course, by looking at this one issue, you can see everything that is wrong with our understanding of video game history and our understanding of video game theory. When I say I'm talking about journalists and the average Joe gamer. I'm not talking necessarily about game designers, because a lot of these guys know how ridiculous this stuff is. So, those are the two big issues. The third one is going to be about other websites that have contributed to this problem. So issue 1, video game journalism, terrible. A lot of stuff is all consumer magazines, either owned directly by a retailer, for example, Game Informer, the most subscribed magazine in the world, one of the few still in print, owned by GameStop. So it's basically the Sears catalog of gaming, is really what it is. Because you cannot tell the difference between whether or not a review was done because the reviewer actually thought that the game deserved that score, or because someone at GameStop sold a marketing deal for advertisement, really, with a publisher that said, yeah, if you give us this many copies at this rate, we'll have a nice write-up in our latest issue of Game Informer. We'll put it on the front page of the magazine. That stuff goes on. We don't know exactly which ones it is, but we know it goes on. It's not a reliable source, and yet it's the most subscribed magazine in the world. You know what that means? It's influencing people's opinions about games. And it's all propaganda. It's the worst kind of thing. It's a PR company masquerading as video game journalism, and it is bringing everything down. It makes us to the point that we can't even talk about certain things in a video game without the publisher pulling our ability to get advanced copies of games from them. So we can no longer really effectively do our jobs completely. And I'm not just talking about things like spoilers, like giving away the endings. It's not something I would want to do for a recent release anyway, because that would really, I feel that would betray the expectations of the reader, who wants to enjoy that themselves. What I'm talking about is that, for example, if you're going to give a game a bad score, and you're part of Metacritic, you are not allowed to post your review to Metacritic until several days after release, because they don't want it to impact the Metacritic score. Here's another problem. You've also heard about the bonuses that people get for certain Metacritic scores. So that puts lots of pressure on the PR people at game companies to refuse to give advanced copies of games to people that they think are not going to give them the scores that they like. This hurts our industry, it really does, and it hurts you, the consumers, because you don't know what's a really good game and you don't know what's a really bad game, and then you go and you blow $60 on something that's kind of crappy. And then by extension, it hurts the game developers because they end up not focusing as much as they could on trying to make a really great title, but rather rushing something out the door to hit some sort of, timeline. It just has all kinds of negative problems. I think that the game industry would be stronger right now. There wouldn't be so many companies losing money if things were not working the way that they are. If there was accurate, 100% reliable, and educated game critics out there dissecting games and giving feedback to both the consumers and to the developers on how to improve existing games with DLC or patch updates, and make better copies, make better games, really. But that's not going to happen with the status quo remaining the status quo. It's just going to keep going the way that it is, and people are going to still, be upset because this reviewer wrote this game that said that, well, it was really great, it's 8 out of 5. But it actually sucked. It had a terrible ending that totally betrayed your interest. Mass Effect 3. That stuff is going to keep going on if nothing changes. So, first we must establish that change is needed, because it is. Change is needed in the video game journalism world. Second issue is very much related to the first one. It's about the state of our understanding and our knowledge about game theory and the game history. This is the WRPG and JRPG. I mean, it's so silly, right? WRPG, Western RPG, and compared to Japanese RPG. The West is not a country, guys. It's not. It's a concept created by people who failed geography classes. America, Canada, France, Germany, Russia. These are countries. The West is not a country. And if you want to argue that there's cultural differences in Japanese titles compared to the West, do you really think that culturally, North America, as diverse as it is, that we have everything there is in common with Canada? By the way, BioWare is a Canadian company. It's not a North American company. The Witcher, that's not an American game either. That should logically be infused with different values from the country they did come from, right? I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think that games are so universal that they can have multiple cultural aspects. I mean, do you think swords and sorcery came from Japan, and yet that constitutes what a lot of games are about? Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy. These are not Japanese cultural things. These are ideas that were created by North American writers, science fiction, sword and sorcery fantasy, Tolkien. This is not stuff. Not necessarily that one, that was actually done by British. But you get the point of what I'm saying. The idea is ridiculous if you really closely examine it. Games, regardless of what the extra critics guys will tell you, should be dissected by their base elements. It should be their game mechanics, their narrative genres. And in the case of RPGs, because there can be so much diversity here, non-linear, dynamic non-linear, static non-linear, and linear narratives. So we have to properly dissect and evaluate games based on their actual elements. And then true discussion about these titles can begin. And this leads us into the third thing, that there's no way to do that, really. There's no websites out there that allow you to categorize games by their base elements, especially RPGs, which really need it because they're so complex. There's so many subgenres. If you really think about the various video game genres that are out there, RPGs constitute the most complex one. They have more subgenres than every other genre. I mean, how many different types of fighting games can you think of, really? With RPGs, it's strategy RPGs, it's action RPGs, it's turn-based RPGs, There's massively multiplayer online RPGs. There's simply multiplayer RPGs. There's ones that seem to be an MMORPG, but they're not. They're called MUD. There's so much diversity in this one genre compared to all other video game genres. RPG is big, it's huge, it's this monstrous, complex beast, and if you don't seriously study all the little parts of it, it's really hard to understand it, especially its history, which a lot of people don't know. Yet, without knowing the history behind this genre, there are so many people out there that talk so expertly about it. Like, yeah, this is a great game, this is a bad game, this game has no innovation, this game is so innovative. Most of them don't know what they're talking about because they don't know the history. They haven't played that many games. They really haven't. They think that they have, but they haven't compared to the vast sea of games that are out there. And that's a problem. And I'm not saying that you should have to just play every single game that's out there to understand the history in the same way that you don't necessarily need to read everything about Shakespeare to understand Shakespeare. But you should know about it. And you can't do that right now. If you go to a site like Wikipedia, for example, do they dissect games by their base elements? No. They're not even that consistent about what kind of genre they're going to call a game. For a lot of Wikipedia articles, as long as it's a fantasy game, that makes it an RPG. Has nothing to do with what mechanics it has. The earliest RPG is Adventure for the Atari 2600. That's crap. That's not an RPG. I mean, and you can try as you like to convince the built-in, little community there on Wikipedia who edit everything. You can go through the little arbitration communities and you can try to get things turned over, but they're saying no, because somebody at IGN wrote this editorial in this review, and he said that Adventure for the Atari 2600 was an RPG, and he's a reliable source. No, he's not! IGN is owned by News Corporation, the most unreliable news agency in the entire world. You don't believe me? You go do some Google searches about the crap that they did in Britain. They do it everywhere. It's coming out. Wiretapping people's phones, making shit up, bribing people. They are the most unreliable. That News Corporation owns Fox News, guys, okay? Make this real easy for you. Fox News is owned by the same corporation that owns IGN. You really think that there's no communication between them, that the values are different? Ha! So yeah, you could try to point this stuff out, but they don't care. All they're interested in doing is being little lemmings, and not thinking for themselves and really dissecting whether something is right or wrong. They're just putting it out there because somebody else did. They are part of the propaganda machine that is destroying video game journalism and destroying every other aspect of journalism and making our world a darker and scarier place for no good reason. Oh wait, there is a good reason. The political aspirations of the Murdoch family. You know, that's the reason why all this crap happens. And if you like that, at this point in the video you can walk away. Because you're not going to like anything else I say after this, because I'm going to give you the solutions to how we can change this problem. So here's the first thing you do. You make your own database of games that accurately categorizes games by their base elements. That's the first thing you do. And to do this, you know, it would be so easy to just start with an already existing database. You know, we can go to Giant Bomb or Game FAQs or something, right? And just convince them that they should do this, right? Wrong. Giant Bomb is now owned by CNET. They're not interested in real journalism. Anybody who's looked at their publications can see that. They are a PR firm masquerading as journalism in order to deceive consumers. That's what they're doing. I'm surprised that Whiskey Media went back to them, or sold it back to them. I can't believe that happened. You know, anybody who's on Giant Bomb, if you seriously believe Giant Bomb is going to stay Giant Bomb, give it a year. Other problem, Game FAQs, also owned by CNET. Game FAQs was a great site. I love Game FAQs. I remember when it was this little rinky-dinky HTML site, didn't even look that great. It was one of my favorite sites of all time. I've submitted reviews for it. I've submitted walkthroughs for it under several different aliases. You know, I love Game FAQs, but it's gone to hell. I've tried to bring up the fact that they have genre labels, but they don't explain what the genre labels are to the users. So people submit all kinds of games under the wrong classifications based on those mechanics. You could, like the same problem with Wikipedia. If it's fantasy, it must be an RPG, right? I believe that Castlevania Symphony of the Night is not listed as an RPG, which it really should be. It's listed just as a 2D platformer, and while it does have platform elements, it is also an RPG. It has leveling mechanics and so forth, and you can ask that from the developers if you like. So, we have to not rely on them. We can't have somebody else fix this problem for us. It's not going to work. Nobody else is interested in doing it. We have to do it ourselves. So, I am officially announcing this. RPGFanatic.net has been completely redesigned over the past 6 months. It is now a database for video games. Although, here's the thing. We're going to start just with RPGs. Just with RPGs. And for the same reason I talked before. RPGs are the biggest, most complicated genre there is. It has the most heated discussions about what is an RPG, what is this type of RPG. If we can take this genre, this big genre, one of the oldest genres really of games, period, if you look at the tabletop side, if we can master it, if we can figure these hard questions out on how to dissect the games, how to classify the games, how to also make it easy for people to submit information about these games without tainting the objective info box about a title that people rely on to do their own research, do their own studies. If we can solve this problem and build a database of just this one particular genre, we can do it for any game, we can do it for any subject. The same model will work, I passionately believe that. So we're going to start with just RPGs for right now. And once we've got this model down, once it works, once it has changed the way that people look at RPGs, and they start reliably looking at information, and they start looking at, wow, I don't know why I ever went to Wikipedia and believed a damn thing they said about this stuff, because it's not the way that it is. I hear interviews with developers who say that is not the way that it was. Once people see what real game information can look like, they will not go back to anything else. Everybody else is going to have to change just to be able to compete, because there's going to be so much startups who are doing the same thing that we're doing with RPGFanatic.net. That's my belief. And you know what? If that doesn't happen, if everybody else doesn't conform to our model, you know what? I will release website after website after website that conforms to that model for every topic that there is, until there is something done. Until other people pick up the slack and start covering things. You know, that involves music, that involves art, that involves film. I'll do it for every subject that there is, until finally the industry has changed and become much more responsible and reliable, and still allow people to voice their opinions about the subjects that they love. So this is what we have to do. We have to take all the passion and the love and the appreciation that people have for RPG games and fuse it into this site and make it work. And by extension, it will prove something else about games. It'll prove that they are a legitimate art form. That's right. There's been so much discussion about, are video games art? Are they, and what really constitutes art? You know, what is the real definition of art? A bit very highbrow here, but this is my interpretation. I believe art is something that talks a little bit about the culture that made it and the people that made it. It says something about the people that like that art, and it says something about the artist. It contributes ideas that sometimes can be rather revolutionary. What's a good example? Final Fantasy VI. That's not just a silly little game, you know, with 2D graphics. That is a game with heart. That is a game with a message. The message is this: you have to oppose people that are trying to hurt other people. You have to oppose people that are trying to ruin the world. They're trying to destroy the environment. All that stuff. You have to fight them. And even if you lose spectacularly, even if they do ruin the world, you still gotta pick up the pieces and come together and stop them so that the world can get rebuilt. Because it's not going to get rebuilt as long as they remain in power. That's what Final Fantasy VI taught me when I was a kid. And I know that it's taught lots of people that. These games are true art forms. They are the greatest art form, really. They take all the other disciplines. They take cinema, they take storytelling, literature, they take music, they take sound design, they take art, and they take game design, and they have it on one medium, the television, one canvas. Your TV. That is the greatest art form that there is, but it doesn't get the appreciation that it deserves. And I sincerely believe that if it had the appreciation it deserved, that more people would turn to these games and learn the messages, and they would take things with them. You know, I think that we can revolutionize education in the entire world by looking at games, because ultimately what game design is about teaching people stuff. You have to learn the rules of how to play a game, and you do it in a fun way, and you're motivated to do it, you know? What's more fun, a combat system that teaches you algebra, or sitting in class doing algebra exercises, you know? That could happen. But it's not going to if they can't get the funding, because it's not perceived as being legitimate, you know, education material. And that's not going to happen if video games are not seen as the legitimate art form that they are and appreciated. And who's going to do that? You think the developers can do that? They're too busy making games. And they're also biased. They say, oh, you have a commercial interest in trying to get this into our schools, right? And the sales team can't do it either, but they have the same problem. So who is it that does it? It's us. It's the game critics. It's the game journalists. It is our job to prove whether a game is high art or low art. It is our job to convince others of the merits of games and what they can be. Because we are the educated critic. We are the educated consumer. We are the person who is best suited to stand in the middle between consumers and developers, the sales teams. We can evaluate them using our knowledge of game design, our knowledge of cinema, our knowledge of sound design, of music, all these different things that are wrapped up in them. And we can say, yes, this is a great game. This game can change the world, and you should play it. This game will make you a better person if you take the messages in it and infuse it into yourself and bring it into your daily life. That's what media is really supposed to be about. That's what literature is supposed to be about. Well, I mean, why do we have kids read classics in high school? What makes them classics? It's the messages. It's the messages, damn it. And that should be the same way for video games. It's that way with film. We've got like 40, 50-something years of film theory to back it up. We don't have it for video games. And we gotta start now. And we're gonna start with RPGfanatic.net because nobody else is gonna do it. Nobody else is interested in doing it. Wikipedia has their own agenda to be a soapbox for the small number of people that control that information, that delete stuff. The little click arbitration committees, which are more interested in making sure that their articles say what they want it to say, rather than what it should say for everybody to be able to use it reliably as a source and do research with it. You know, you can't use Wikipedia for research. I want you to be able to use RPGfanatic.net for research, because it doesn't have any of that subjective crap in it. It's just the facts, and it's all sourced with MLA citations. That's what I want to see. And that's what I think can cause a revolution. And you should be part of it. So here, I just talked a lot about the website. Now I'm going to show you the website. I'm going to show you how to use it.
This is the redesigned RPG Fanatic website. Now this is a beta, so this website is going to constantly be improving, most likely every week. So every week you come back to our website, you're going to see something new implemented in this website. Now at first glance, you might think that this is made with WordPress or something. You know, most websites these days are all WordPress. Ours is not. This is all custom. This is our own proprietary thing, our own platform. As you can see, we do have a slider. That's not really, you know, a great, you know, revolutionary feature, but everybody has one. What we do have is feeds here for you to be able to see new reviews that people post, new videos they post, new articles they post, and you can also see the most viewed. Now this is just a start, and it's not just my content, okay? You can add your own stuff to our website. You can add your own video reviews, your own editorial reviews, you can add Let's Plays, you can add news, walkthroughs, you know, all kinds of stuff. You can also add to our game database. We have our own built-in game wiki. I will show you one of the articles that I'm kind of, you know, a little bit proud of at the moment. That'll be the Disgaea 4 article. It's one of the first articles I made as a test, you know, just to see, you know, what we could really do with it and help refine the look. You'll notice here that we have a little info box. It says PlayStation 3 release. It says the developer and the publisher. It says the combat system, Wargaming turn-based. And this is a label that I came up with over a year ago. Something better than just strategy RPG, because, you know, strategy RPG doesn't really explain a lot about the gameplay. You know, every game really involves some strategy, so it just seemed like a misnomer, and we got to get rid of these misnomers. We got to really dissect what games are about and talk about their base elements, their mechanics. So, wargaming turn-based. It also talks about the narrative genres involved in the game. Science fiction, fantasy, comedy, the narrative model. You know, is it linear? Is it non-linear? Is it a flavor of non-linear? Because it's not just non-linear. There's static non-linear. There's dynamic non-linear. And there are differences between them. We also have our release dates in this nice, easy-to-see format that you can read. It says how many players the game supports. And then, of course, we have our articles. Our articles are not like Wikipedia. This is the basic format. A summary, plot. If it has multiple endings, we'll discuss that. The gameplay, development of the game, sales of the game, the credits of the game, the people who made it. And then at the bottom we have the article's authors, the people who contributed to the sections of the article. And of course this one isn't completely fleshed out, but it's a start. It's a powerful start. What's cool is you go over to our navigation menu over here, and you can click on walkthroughs, reviews, let's plays. You know, you can see the images that have been uploaded for it. So we've got our images here. You know, the different covers. But you can also go over here and see, you know, the reviews that people have submitted for it. Here's one of my reviews. You know, my Disgaea 4 review. And it loads up as the video. You can see the video information here. You can directly subscribe to the channel. You can see the likes and dislikes it has. And of course you can play the video. See that? It just loads right up. Isn't that cool? And this isn't just for me. This is for anybody who submits their stuff. It'll look just like this. says it has the game info box right up here, so you can see the various images that have been submitted for it, and you can still access other content that's been uploaded for the game. You can go back to the overview of the article and read more information about it. You can also see previous versions that have been submitted for this article. This is just really, really smart design. It really is. It's an improvement over Wikipedia, because with Wikipedia, what they've done is that they basically have a mixture of facts and opinions in a single article. But with this, what you see here on the overview page is pure fact. That's all it is. It's just fact. No opinions. It's nothing. You want to post your opinion about a game? You go over here and you post a review for it. You post a walkthrough for it. There's no walkthrough submitted just yet, but you could do that. You've also got news. You can have a let's play, your own personal commentary and experience, your new games journalism, if you will, of playing that title. Logging into the site is so easy. You go up here, and you can use Facebook Connect, and you can connect with your Facebook account. You could connect with Google, with Microsoft's services. You can even do it with Twitter. So I'm going to log in, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to submit content to our database. It's so easy. So here I'm logged in, right? Here's my account information. Go over to our games wiki, and I'm seeing that there's lots of different titles here. There's so much content. What do I want to submit for? Maybe I want to submit something for World of Warcraft. Maybe I have a video. Let's see, what kind of video could I submit about World of Warcraft? Let's look at this. Let's go to my YouTube here. And I have a video, RPG Fanatic WoW raid. I've got a raid that I uploaded on my channel. The Fall of Deathwind raid. Got the entire raid finder run that I did. And this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how to submit it as a Let's Play video to my website, to my database, so that other people who are looking for that kind of content on rpgfanatic.net can find it. So I go over here and I say, I want to submit a Let's Play. And it brings up this menu here. And let's title it Raid Finder Run Fall of Deathwing. And what we do is that we have the video ID here. This part right here. This is what we need. This is all we need. It's just this video ID part, which is right before the it's right after the V equals part. You take that and you stick it right here. You just paste it in, just like that. So now I go down this list and I find World of Warcraft. That's the game I'm going to submit it for. And then I hit submit. And check this out. A new commentary review has been added, and my account has earned experience for the submission. And now let's see where it is. Let's look at the Let's Play feed. And there it is, the Raid Finder Run, Fall of Deathwing. It's been submitted. And it's embedded right in the page. And here's the game information box for World of Warcraft. And you can just play it right here. It's that easy. It is that easy to submit content.
All right, guys, we are
to my
entering the
database.
dungeon.
It's so easy. And if you want, you can go directly over to the main article of that game. Of course, right now it's not completely filled in, but we got to fix that. But as you can see here, we also support multiple platforms. So if you want to see the different platforms that a game has been released for, we got Windows, Windows 95, 97, XP and so forth. That's all covered by Windows NX and OS X, Mac OS X, supported for both these titles. And what's cool is that, let's say that hypothetically that Blizzard didn't publish it for the Mac. We can change it. We can change it to the actual publisher that it was. Maybe it was Acclaim, maybe it was. We could so easily change it and update it. Of course, that isn't who did it, so I'm not going to do that. But I'm just saying, we can support changes in versions with a single title. Now I want to point out a couple things here. We've got down here this toolbar, so you can load up all the videos on my channel right here on the website, just like that. You can find them all. See that? You can see all the videos I have ever uploaded on my channel right here from this little slider. And you can click on them and you can watch them just like that. Isn't that cool? Here's another thing you can do. You can load up my Facebook fan page and you can interact with fans directly here from my website and see what they're posting and talking about and commenting. You can also see the recent stuff that I have posted up. I usually, whenever I post something on my channel or on my blog, I post it in my Facebook fan page, and you can easily find that content and see what other people have been saying about that content. Same thing with my Twitter. You can go directly to my Twitter right here from this menu. Isn't that neat? Of course, it needs to load a bit, and the Twitter seems to load real slow at the moment. We'll have to do something about that. But yeah, and you can also see the Facebook fan page, directly from here as well. Let it right there. Isn't that cool? But here's the cool thing, right? It's not just me posting content. We've also got other people, like, for example, Woodstick. Woodstick's a guy I noticed. He's on YouTube. He's been posting really high quality stuff, I think. It's the kind of stuff that I want to promote on my website that I think people should watch. And you can go directly to his website and read his content and watch his videos from my website. We also have a little RSS feed here, so you can see all the blogs that he's been uploading. Another guy, RPG Consular. He's primarily doing stuff on his blog, and that's cool. And what he's been doing is that he's been playing all the console RPGs in chronological order. And he's been talking about his experience playing these games. And I think this is really cool because a lot of people don't have the time to play through all these games. But he is doing that, and he's sharing his experiences with other players. And that is really neat. So he's a feature contributor. We also got 8-Bit Eric. He hasn't posted a lot of stuff here, but he does have his stuff on his website. You guys who are familiar with my website, you've seen us do collaboration videos before. He's a featured member of the site. Another thing, all the interviews that I have done, that 8-Bit Eric has done, that other people I'm associated with, such as the guys at originalgamer.com, you can find all the interviews that we've done over the years right here on this easy-to-use webpage. Of course, you can also access my reviews in the same way. And you get a direct link to my blog as well, where I talk about miscellaneous things. It started out being, me talking about the design of my own tabletop system, but now I've just been using it to post all kinds of different stuff. So you have a direct link to that, along with all my reviews. You can see all my reviews right here on my website. Lastly, of course, there's also the RPGology series and the side quests. So you can find all that information as well right here. I haven't decided what other blogs I'll be submitting in here. I might mix it up a bit. I might, feature someone's blog here on the website who I think is making really great content. I might plug them there. I haven't really decided yet. That's the cool thing about making your own websites, because you can do all kinds of stuff with it that other people aren't as flexible to do when they're limited to WordPress. Now here I've posted up the style guide for our database, so you know exactly what is expected of the database. I tell you what the dimensions are for submitted images so that they fit perfectly into our sliders. I talk about how articles should be named, especially with Japanese titles that have different names. It can be kind of difficult to decide how you should submit their name, and we have rules governing that. We have rules for how an article should be edited, for what kind of information should be in, what kind of citations should be used. We explained what our database is not meant for. It's not meant for people's private soapbox, not for their opinions. It's just for the facts. We have all this information here, so make it really easy for people to submit to our database and have it be consistent, which is not like Wikipedia, because there's so much inconsistency since they have all these little kings on there who are making up things as they go, and their own version and interpretation of reliability. We don't have any of these problems because it's all consistent to the writing that I have been doing for the past 3 years. That's what everything's conforming to. It's building upon my work, the body of work I've already created. And you, the users, you can build upon that work. You can contribute to it. You can help assist in the process of archiving these terrific games and explaining what they're about to other players, to other fans of the genre. It's so cool. This is just an insanely great website. And I am so happy that we can finally show you guys what we've been working on for months and months and months. And it's finally in a usable form.
I'm not new to doing these things that people view as controversial, saying things that upset people. I'm sure that what I've done right now is going to upset a lot of people. The forces of mediocrity, they're going to rise up and they're going to try to stamp out what we're trying to do. But we're not going to let them, because we didn't ask for their permission to do this in the first place. We took it upon ourselves, we built our own thing. We're not going to use Giant Bomb, we're not going to use Wikipedia, we're not going to use Game FAQs. This is ours. This is our revolution. And there's going to be critics, there's going to be trolls, there's going to be lots of people out there who try to sabotage what we're trying to do because they can't stand it, because they hate it. But you know what? If Henry Ford had listened to all his critics, we'd still be driving around better horse carriages, That's what we'd be doing. We wouldn't have the automobile industry. So I don't feel bad when someone says to me, why can't we just use Wikipedia? Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to infuse all this energy into making our own site that's just slightly different? These slight differences are huge differences. It's a revolution, guys, and you gotta be part of it, because it is the future. It's coming, with or without you. So you should be part of it and have a presence in that revolution. And then years from now, when the world has changed, when video games are appreciated for their elements and viewed as the greatest art form that there is, you could say, yeah, I was there, I was part of that, I helped make that a reality. I didn't stay on the sidelines and wait and watch and see what was going to happen, if it was going to be worth it to invest. I was there from the start. I made some of the first articles. I did some of the first research. I myself went and got a press pass E3 and did interviews with developers, and then I posted it up as the news for a title. You can say you were on the ground floor. I wrote reviews. I did research. And I put it on the site. And we changed the world. We will change the world, guys. And we start today. Thanks for watching. And I'm going to have continual video updates about what is going on with the site. It's going to be like our newsletter, really. And it's going to announce all the new features that are coming. Because as you can see, the site is in its beta. It says right at the top, this is the beta build of the site. We have all kinds of great features coming. For example, I want to get 1,000 articles by the end of this year. 1,000 completed articles about games in our wiki. When we have that, we're going to create a timeline of all the games that have been released in chronological order. It's going to see the scale, the growth of RPGs. And with this timeline, you're going to be able to do something even cooler. You're going to be able to have search criteria. So it will show all the turn-based games. It'll show all the fantasy games. It'll show all the science fiction games. It'll show all the Western games, like not just Western as in Western RPG, but Western as in Cowboys and American Wild West. Wild Arms, for example, would fall in that category. It's going to be able to show you multiple timelines, and so you can be able to do real research about the history of the genre and say, there was this huge explosion of science fiction games in the early 90s, We assume that's the truth, but we have no proof. RPGfanatic.net will provide that proof with our database. And we will have other cool features as well, which I'm not going to announce just yet, but we'll talk about as they are implemented. Guys, I am devoted completely and utterly to making this the greatest video game website ever. Even though it's just about RPGs, people are going to look at this and say, wow, this is everything that I've ever wanted in a video game journalism website. And the big thing is that what's going to make it a success is you guys. It's a Web 2.0 compliant website, and it does it right. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you will be part of our revolution. Later, guys.